everyone, and welcome to another edition of Credit to the Girls. My name is Sarah Black. I'm joined by Lucy Watkin. And Luce, this episode is a focus on the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, the Western Bulldogs, super exciting young team here in Victoria, and excited to hear more about their trade period in draft and what they're going to do going into the draft from Mick Sandry.
Yes, so we've got our list manager, Mick, on the line. So Mick, welcome to the show. Just off the top, how'd you see season 2021 play out for the Dogs?
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Lucy. Thanks for having me. It was a much improved season that we've just gone through. So obviously the young team that we've got is starting to really improve, and that was sort of the development that we'd hoped to see this year. Getting a few more wins on the board was great to see.
And we mentioned so much young talent on your list. Do you think they've really set the foundations for future success?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we've, a couple of years ago went through a couple of expansions where our list turned over quite significantly, and we had a really strong strategy that we put in place to go to the draft for a couple of years in a row and really bring in as much top young talent as what we could, and sort of, with Berkey at the helm, really focusing on the development of those young girls has started to really sort of pay off and come through now in the results that are translating on the field. So it's been a pretty clear strategy to sort of bring in those young players, and we're starting to see that development show through now.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a team on the rise that I think has a few clubs looking over their shoulders. During the trade season just gone, you've brought in two established players in Elle Bennett and Rocky Cranston. Firstly, on Elle, what do you think what do you hope that she'll bring to the team? Obviously, a fairly how am I going to say this? Brings a lot of leadership and a fairly important player for the Giants.
Yeah, look, Elle's a player that we've been watching really closely for some time now, probably nearly 3 years that we've had our eye on Elle and sort of had discussions over the journey around, Elle's probably obviously being a Victorian and the chances that she might come home. We've sort of always tried to stay in that picture if she did decide to come back to Victoria. And obviously she made that decision this year. She's a fantastic person. As you said, Sarah, she's a mature player that shows great leadership with her elite sporting background, not just in football, but in netball as well. And we think that she's going to be a great addition to our young group. We think that, obviously she's shown what she can do down back and on the wing. We think that she can probably move through the midfield as well. So we're looking forward to seeing what she'll be able to add to us.
Another experienced player you brought in is Rochelle Cranston, sort of like Taylor Harris returning home after featuring for the Bulldogs in those exhibition series. But she was delisted by Geelong. What do you hope she'll bring to the team, and why did the Bulldogs want to give her another chance?
Yeah, Rocky's obviously had that early affiliation with the Bulldogs from the early days of the exhibition games. Look, Rocky's a fantastic person again, and sort of that's, you'll probably hear me talk about that. That's a trend that we're really sort of bringing through in the draft, and who we bring into the group is really important to us. We're looking forward to seeing that her work hard and I guess sort of come and impact, not just on the field, but with our young group again as well. So that's an important theme that we're looking at with those two older, mature players that we've brought in. Rocky's, she'll come in, she'll play a number of different roles, I feel. We know she can play through the forward line, but she can play through the midfield as well. She's really keen to work hard and have an impact. So we're looking forward to seeing what she can do.
Yeah, at her best, she can be such a game changer. So really keen to see her get back to some of that great form we've seen a few years back. It wasn't a trade in the end, but one situation I wanted to ask you about was Kim Rennie. She was pretty keen to get to North Melbourne, but unfortunately the deal fell through. What was your, not explanation, wrong word, how did all that sort of play out?
Yeah, it was obviously a hard situation with Kim. Obviously, we offered Kim a contract, and she felt that she would be better off with a move. Yeah, as you say, it was a difficult situation. I guess we put multiple scenarios on the table. Unfortunately, they didn't come off. So it was a little bit of a disappointing outcome through the scenario. It's probably not one that anyone sort of really likes to see in a situation like that. But that was sort of how it came about.
I was just going to say, it sounded like it was quite a protracted situation that unfortunately there was no resolution to.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously we had a really clear strategy for the sign and trade period and where we were going to end up. And we were really clear around what was put on the table, I guess, at the start that wouldn't end up being used by us. And so it was a sort of drawn out period where nothing new was sort of put on the table until really late in the piece, and made it a little bit difficult time-wise. We did, obviously continue to work through scenarios all the way to the end, and we presented quite a few things to the table, but in the end, it wasn't something that was agreed on and got declined. So, obviously we put a contract to Kim. She's decided that she would be better off with the move, and so we wish her all the best with that.
Definitely always hard when these things can't quite happen. But on the brighter side, I did see a video on social media of Deanna Berry having her first run at training the other day. What's the update on her?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Dee's just putting in a mountain of work, and everything's going really well for her so far. So you would have seen in that video the girls getting around her. I think it's a really good snapshot of where we're at as a group, celebrating the small wins for individuals as well, and that sort of support that they give each other. But Dee's been fantastic. She's working so hard, and she's hopefully going to reap the reward of the hard work early in her rehab, come the end of it, and when she sort of starts to get back out there on the track and from a football sense.
Yeah, fingers crossed we do get to see her this coming season. Just the change in time has caught a few of the ACL girls out, unfortunately. I wanted to ask you about looking ahead to the draft. You've got a potential father-daughter situation on your hands. It's a bit of a tricky one with Georgia Campbell, with her dad, Adrian, having played for two clubs, the Dogs and the D's. Can you just explain to the listeners how that could possibly play out?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, Georgia's a terrific young woman, and a lot of potential from a football sense. So I guess the scenario is obviously with father-daughter. The father has to have played one game for an AFL club for that possibility to come up for the daughter. So she's in a unique situation where Adrian, obviously, like you said, played for the Bulldogs and obviously played a game for Melbourne as well. So she's in that unique situation where if she decides to go down the father-daughter route, she'll make a choice between the two teams, and that process then rolls from there.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting, but also always great to see the father-daughter aspect of the AFLW come into play. We've already got a few really good girls playing in the AFLW, but what is the plan going into the draft? We mentioned the foundations with the younger players. You brought in some more experience, and your first pick isn't until the second round of the draft. So what's sort of the go with that?
Yeah, it's an interesting draft from a Victorian sense this year. We sort of feel that sort of after that pick sort of 5 range, that it's fairly even, probably for the next 15 picks. So we decided, obviously, that at one point we had pick 4, and then there was some compensation came in, and our pick 4 Victorian moved back to 6, and then another trade scenario went down, which meant that went from 6 to 7 in Victoria. And we felt that having 3 second round picks So Victorian 13, 15 and 17, we felt was a much stronger hand than having just the pick 7. So by moving that 7 back 6 spots to gain the other 2 picks in that second round was a fantastic result. And we think that we're going to get some really good players at those picks.
Speaking generally, you've obviously been involved in women's footy for quite some time, Mick. Do you think that the unfortunate situation in Victoria last year with no footy has had a bit of an impact on this draft crop coming through?
I think it's an interesting question. I probably would have thought that it would have had more of an impact than what we've seen. I think there is, and that's across the AFLW as well. Probably expected there maybe to be a little bit of a drop, especially for the first half of the season, but we certainly didn't see that. I think that shows the resilience of all these young women and women in the AFLW that they're able to keep pushing through, keep working on their games, even through that lockdown period in Victoria. But I think that this group, I don't really think it's impacted them at all. Obviously, not being able to play as many games last year, but having the full season this year was terrific, and they were able to get out there. Obviously, the national champs were impacted a little bit, but we're still able to get games away. So I think that they've all been able to sort of put their best foot forward, and certainly a few girls have been able to jump up in the ranks and in those orders. So it's a similar result to what we've seen in the other years where that's been able to happen. So I think that they've been able to put out there what they're capable of and put that on show.
Do you keep an eye generally on the state leagues like the EFLW? Because I know heaps of the under 19 girls are sort of coming through, played a few games with the teams there. Do you keep an eye on that as well for sort of what they're showing at that level?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a good team of recruiters over at the Bulldog with Darren Edmondson and Steve Richards. Do a heap of work looking across all the different competitions. And I think that there were some interesting decisions to be made by the girls who would choose whether to play in the NAB competition as an under 19 or play VFL, and we saw varying decisions from different girls. I think some of those decisions were really beneficial for some of the girls that decided to play in the NAB, and I guess likewise for some that decided to play VFL. I think it was certainly, obviously they had that choice, and I think that a lot of them have benefited from whichever way they went. So it was, I guess, good for them to be able to choose which direction they took their pathway. And certainly from our perspective, being able to see them across both competitions has been really good.
Yeah, interesting. It's always good to get a bigger picture view on what's happening in women's footy. Sometimes we can get a little bit caught up in AFLW centric, but of course it's much wider than that. So thanks for your time, Mick. Just to finish with, as we've been asking all the clubs, what's sort of the hopes and the aims for the Dogs in the upcoming season?
Yeah, obviously we saw huge improvement this year. The young list is certainly developing quickly, and we're in it to win it. I think if Berkey was on the call, he'd certainly be strongly advocating that we're here to win the flag. So that's absolutely what our aim is.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure there'll be a lot of excited Dogs fans listening to that. We can't wait to see just how the Dogs take another step forward in the upcoming season. Thanks again, Mick. Really appreciate your time.
No worries. Thanks, guys.